I mean, this is 100% accurate for how I used to be and feel. The rare times that I could go visit my family and be with them and hang out with them, it took a day or two to decompress enough to actually be home and just be in the moment and not be freaking out about whether I was going to get called back or whether, some problem was on my plate that it was going around and around and around in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And literally it took a couple days just to chill on that. And then, so this was only a handful of times that I got away long enough to actually have that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important. It actually is voluminously important, I think, that, one very effective way of dealing with somebody who's in a cult is to through your conversation and through your activities, remind them or get them thinking about the things that they used to like, that they used to really be passionate about, that they used to have, that they used to take very seriously or used to very much enjoy, right, before their cult experience, when the cult becomes this domineering, overshadowing thing that takes over your whole life. There were things before that time that mattered to the person, right? Mattered to me. And if more time had been spent getting me thinking about those things and reminding me of those things and those good times and whatnot, it makes it's part of planting the seeds.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be directly getting a person to doubt the cult leader's teachings in order to be planting seeds about what, about them thinking or reevaluating why they're doing what they're doing.
Right. Right. And you brought up a good point. I think sometimes it is in those kinds of subtle moments that, again, you don't have to hit someone over the head. That's not to. That can make a big impact. I learned this actually really inadvertently from a family I was working with many years ago, where when they finally had an opportunity to meet with their daughter, who had been taken in by a Bible-based group, and was proselytizing on the streets at all hours of the night and really putting herself in harm's way, but believing that she was under the protection of the leader and God, and it was scaring the family to death. The mom was wearing a perfume that the daughter remembered, and she hadn't smelled in a long time. And when I talked to the daughter who finally left, she said it was in those moments that she had this kind of multi-sensory connection to her family. So now I actually use that, and I encourage families to, wear the cologne or perfume that the child was raised smelling, bake cookies that really remind them of the cookies they loved for a certain holiday, a holiday they haven't been able to spend with their family
Mm-hmm.
for a period of time. It's in the subtleties that can really make a big difference. Also, if you're noticing that they're saying something that really doesn't seem to be in line with anything logical, you don't want to call them on it in that way, but you want to help them think. Because there's not a lot of thinking, actual thinking, that takes place
Mm-hmm.
in cults. There's a lot of memorizing.
And there's a lot of rationalization to justify why they're altering their thought processes to agree with the cult leader's teachings, which is not, would not classify that in the same way as creative or original thinking.
Right.
The rationalization that occurs more, and this is one of the things where, the more intelligent a person is, the more susceptible they can be to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're spending their brain power rationalizing beliefs that really just don't make any damn sense.
Right.
Right. And of course, I'm familiar with this with Scientology, and but you get in this with all kinds of groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I've been running across and seeing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's where their thinking power is going, and so they're trying themselves to justify all of this
Mm-hmm.
to themselves, and they've come up with some answer
Mm-hmm.
that lets them now communicate these ideas to somebody else, and it's all this sort of carefully constructed thought fortress that sort of sits there.
That's a good term, a thought fortress.
Yeah,
I like
and
that a
that's
lot. Yes.
yeah. I just came up with that.
That's good.
and,
Trademark.
Yeah, that's right now, TM.
Uh-huh.
And that's sort of where they're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to try to batter down the walls of that thought fortress to carry that analogy along.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I kind of like this analogy, because if you can be invited in
Mm-hmm.
to the fortress, right,
Mm-hmm.
you probably have a better chance from inside of, undoing or breaking it down than you do battering on walls.
Oh, yeah. Because as soon as you are in opposition, as soon as you're battering on these walls, what is the typical response? It's to reinforce the fortress.
Exactly. Buttress the walls.
Right.
That's right.
This is good. Okay.